Meanwhile, let's focus on this story about water. There's no doubt that the quality of our water in the country is deteriorating. Poor governance and climate change, some of the contributing factors to this issue. Flooding and rising sea levels can cause damage as well to our water and sanitation infrastructure in terms of water points, wells, toilets, wastewater treatment plants. The effects of extreme weather events on water availability and pollution are also increasing. Let's discuss sources of water pollution now and how can our government and ourselves better manage these resources. I'm joined now by epidemiologist Jo Barnes. Jo, good afternoon. Welcome to today and thank you very much for joining us this hour. As I read this intro, I'm just hearing a cocktail of complex problems around our water. But one thing is clear, the quality of our water is deteriorating.
Good afternoon to you and to our viewers. Unfortunately, in its own way, this is just as much a tragedy as the one that you have just handled before. It is just not so dramatic. It happens day after day and week after week. Our water systems are badly neglected, they're crumbling, and there's a connection, a very close connection between water systems and sewage and sanitation systems. If you give people a liter of clean water in the morning, by the end of that day, you're going to have almost a liter of dirty water that needs treatment before it gets released into the environment. And that link seems to have been lost because not only do we have very great problems with our water systems, but our sewage systems are in an even more dire state. So we are ending up with a huge number of health problems that are potentially avoidable. So all in all of these, we are talking about government systems, particularly the central government and the municipal level. Those two are not in sync, and the municipal system seems to be almost out of control. So we seem to be sleepwalking towards the future. It's an outrage that we've known this for 20 years, and yet people are hearing deaf and seeing blind.
Is it lack of will? Is it mismanagement that is contributed to this sleepwalk you are talking about?
It is a complex situation, complex system, and years of lack of political will and problematic oversight, poor maintenance, poor investment into expanding the systems and served by underqualified people. There are very few municipalities, by the way, that have got a properly, formally qualified engineer on their staff anymore. So all of these are difficult problems to handle, and it requires political will. And it requires knuckling down and saying it doesn't matter from what part we are, we have to stand together. And just as we as ordinary folk plead, just do your job. Just do your job. We're not asking for heroics. Everybody just do your job. But unfortunately, the situation has now deteriorated so badly that we are in very vulnerable climate problems and climate change. So when there are floods and storms, afterwards, it takes quite a long time, but afterwards the system is repaired to what it was before, waiting for the next flood with the same built-in problems for it to be swept away again. There seem to be no using the opportunity now that things are damaged to improve what caused the damage so that it is not so bad or it doesn't happen at all next time they have a flood in that place. So
we're not fixing things quick enough after damages and stuff. But there is a health risk there. As things deteriorate, we can have health risks. I mean, if a water treatment plant is not working well, if there's pollution, then you have damaged infrastructure, lack of maintenance. You end up having a cholera outbreak like we saw in Hammanskraal recently.
Yeah. Then, unfortunately, if we really should sit down and calculate how many of these potentially avoidable cases descend on the health systems, that the hospitals and the clinics that need not have been there if we had better systems, it would be a staggering amount. And we're now seeing failing in one situation costing another service of the government so much that the health services are crumbling. So we honestly really need to pay some attention. There's hardly a week goes by that we hear of another community rising up in anger because of they have not had no water for a month. Just the census had recently come out last week, and the households in the various provinces were asked for how many of them had significant water interruptions during 2022. And it turns out that the Northern Cape was the worst, with 66% of the households suffering from water interruptions. The Western Cape was the lowest, with 27%. That's just water interruption. When they do have water, the quality is often so poor and dangerous. You are quite right. It's causing ripple effects all over that we could do without as a country.
Thank you very much. Jo Barnes, there, an epidemiologist, just weighing in on our focus today about the quality of our water and the lack of access by many South Africans to fresh water.